can't stand going to the normal drive-throughs, really wants something good they can make in their home. And for Christmas, I'm giving him Bull Run blend and the French roast Bull Run, whole bean coffee. It'll come fresh from the Bull Run roaster. They will not send it to you until they have something fresh they can send it to you, and then you make a gift, and somebody's opening up that packet, and the smell is unbelievably good. I think sometimes I like the smell of coffee more than I like coffee itself. So go to Berry Coffee, order up a nice Christmas gift for the coffee lover in your family, and thanks as always to Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com for sponsoring the program. So is Donaldson, a similar guy to Rendon, even though he's not quite as young and didn't just win a World Series?
So for those reasons and a couple others, he's not Rendon in my mind. But what I really like about the Donaldson idea is that he's still a terrific defensive third baseman, and he's one of those guys that will not be scared in the middle of the lineup as a hitter. He's a guy that would fit nicely into the Twins lineup, I believe, and he, the question is about a third baseman. If it's Rendon, then you go, okay, we're going to figure out something to do with Miguel Sano, because Rendon is just too much of a transformational player not to get him. But since it's not Rendon and it's somebody of lesser stature, I mean, Donaldson's a fine player. I've always really admired him. When the first time I saw him, his first year with the A's, I just thought he was a terrific player, but he's not Rendon. But I like him a lot, and I like the way he'd fit. The other way he'd fit, I think, his personality is, and yet you always worry about that. I mean, the chemistry of the team is really good right now, and you worry about does a given personality change the dynamic? But he's a solid guy. I mean, he's a gamer. He's a hard-nosed guy, and I think that would fit really well in the clubhouse too. So I like the idea, but then you're giving up, by definition. You're giving up on Miguel Sano at third base, and you just make the decision here really early in Sano's career and early in his age progression, that he's no longer going to be the third baseman. You're not going to let him continue to try and improve at third base, because I think Donaldson's got to play there. I mean, one of the things that they're looking at obviously is infield defense, and it wasn't the best last year, and I think Donaldson at third base would make him better. And then the question is, what do you do with Sano? So that's what they're going through right now.
I have another follow-up question on that one. Do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, works out of Champlin. I work with him, and he handles my insurance and Michael Russo's insurance, and we deal with them. It's not like you need to go to his office. It doesn't really matter where you live. You can work with them via app, text, email. His staff is very responsive. Just Google Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, and see what he can do for you.
Hi, TALKNORTH listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Roy Smalley Show, I will be donating $10 to pitch in for baseball and softball. This provides baseball and softball equipment for kids in need. Be sure to mention the show when you reach out to us so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
So the question is, are they better off finding a first baseman so Miguel can play third base? Because as you said, once you move him over there, he's probably never going back to third base.
Oh, I think that's right. I mean, because you're not going to sign Donaldson and as a DH, you're not going to sign Donaldson as a part-time player, and you're not going to sign him for 1 year and then have Sano go back. I mean, I think it's a moving on, and they've got Royce Lewis in the minor leagues. Don't know where he's going to play yet, but he's going to play somewhere on the left side of the infield, most likely, and so I mean you've got options there down the road as well. So if there were a Josh Donaldson type first baseman, I'd love that. I'd like that move. That move as well. I mean, I don't think Miguel Sano is going to make anybody forget any of the Gold Glove first basemen that we've come to know and love anytime soon over there at first base. But you've got what you've got, and you've got to try to figure out how to make your club better. I'd love to see someone, first baseman of as I said, of Donaldson's capability, but offensively and defensively. But you still, I think what this offseason has done is one of the things is for the Twins is to say, okay, what do we think about Miguel Sano? I mean, we're going to have to make a decision here, and I think they're thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, a Twitter question from Nick Henry, our friend, asks, by what metric will the Gerrit Cole signing return on investment be measured? Is it simply World Series championships or something less?
Oh, I think it'll be something less than World Series championships. I think that will the success of that trade will be measured in how many seasons he puts up numbers similar to what he did this year. Now, obviously, this year, I mean, that might be the top end of performance for him. He was nothing short of astonishing, and that's one of the reasons I liked him so much as a free agent pitcher, which that I don't normally like an awful lot, is he's got great pitching mechanics. You can see that there's not a lot mechanically in my mind, and other guys know this better than I do, but I really don't think there's much mechanically that would cause him to hurt his arm. You see guys with their mechanics, and a lot of guys, you say that's an elbow blowout or a shoulder blowout waiting to happen. But especially guys that throw as hard as he does and have the snap on breaking balls that he has. But you look at his mechanics and you say, and his body type and the way he goes about it, and you say, this would be the one guy that that somebody that could afford to do it, could do exactly what the Yankees did, because you expect, and not only that, he seems like a really good teammate, but he also seems like a fierce competitor. And I mean, as I watched him all season long, I just couldn't find anything that I didn't really like about the guy. So I think he's going to be measured, to answer your question again. I mean, I think the Yankees will expect to be in World Series as a result of him anchoring the rotation. Whether they are or not will depend on a lot more things other than just Cole and his performance. But I suspect that they'll be in World Series, and I suspect that he'll be measured by if he goes 20-5 the next 5 years, then it's worth it.
And the Yankees are officially frightening right now. They led the league in runs scored last year. And with a lot of young players who might have more upside, and they might actually be healthier next year. Now they have Gerrit Cole, and now the Astros can't blatantly cheat anymore. I mean, the path is just right there for them. And I'm not even joking about that. I mean, the path is just open for them right now.
Well, it is exactly. That's exactly right. I believe that that Mayhew and Gleyber Torres are as good a players as there are in the game. I just really, really love those guys. We know about how, the potency of their outfield. I mean, everything it really is falling into place for them, and they're really good, and they were really good before they signed Cole, and they're half again better now. I mean, they're at least 20% better, because there's a guy going out there every 5 days that's gonna beat the other team. So they're awfully good, and the Astros all of a sudden. No Cole, Verlander getting older. Where are they going from here? So, yeah, I think that the rest of the league just took a step back relative to the Yankees.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to hit you with 3 names. Just give me kind of a snapshot of what you either think the Twins' chances are, or what kind of give me an appraisal. Should the Twins go after them, and what you think of them? Madison Bumgarner, we've talked about him before, but boy, especially now that the other names have been cleared out, he is the target.
I like the idea of signing Bumgarner, especially, obviously it depends on, here's the problem, that there aren't a lot of huge money teams, but there are enough of them when there are 5 free agents, right? Something that everybody really wants. And that's the problem, because when Cole got the money he got, and Wheeler got the money he got, and Strasburg got the money he got, it not only raised how much everybody else is going to get, it's going to raise it even more, because people are going to be frantic, because the big money teams are going to be frantic. If they were interested in signing those guys and they missed out, then they're going to the next level, and they'll pay up for that. Mm-hmm. So it puts the Twins in a really tough situation. Would I like to see Bumgarner on a team? Yes, I absolutely would. Depends on the length of time of the contract and how much. I mean, would you pay him? Would you pay him $20 million a year for 5 years? It makes you breathe heavily. Make you take some deep breaths. I mean, he's 1 years old, and that would make me take some deep breaths about that, as much as I want him. And I think that's going to be the minimum of what it is, but given the scenario that I just outlined. So, with the other teams. So, yes, he should be a target. I hope they get him. I hope the contract is reasonable relative to what the Twins, would and what we always say, and what would turn out to be, from a roster standpoint, reasonable for Bumgarner.
And by the way, for the poll ads are cheap crowd, and again, I'm not here to defend the poll ads. I would love to see them spend $800 million of the payroll. That make my job a lot of fun. But I just want to offer this real world reminder: Derek Falvey and Thad Levine don't believe in spending more than a certain percentage on one player. And you have to understand, if Derek Falvey and Thad Levine stick their neck out and say this pitcher is worth $25 million a year, whatever the number is, and that guy gets hurt, or you sign them and you lose, they get fired. There is accountability when you spend a lot of money. You're attaching your reputation to that signing. It's not just about total payroll. It's also about the general manager and his assistant, or CBO and general manager in this case. They are attaching their reputation to every decision they make, and they're going to be judged on it. They don't want to sign somebody for $25-30 million a year if that person's going to get hurt or not perform. There's a lot of risk attached to this that gets kind of shouted down by the poll ads or cheap crowd. The real world is more complex than that. Next name I'm going to throw.
Well, wait a minute. Let me just say a couple of things about the excellent point that you just made. Not only would they get fired in that scenario, you pay Bumgarner, $120 million for 5 years, or whatever the number turns out to be, and he pitches for 4 months and blows out his arm, or is ineffective, or whatever. Not only are they fired, the personal risk, but there's great organizational risk. If they, again, it's the Joe Mauer situation. If they sign a player or two to big money, which necessarily means that you can't go get other spots in your lineup and pay them also, and that pitcher or pitchers get hurt or don't perform, then the team is screwed for 6 years. And we saw that happen with the Twins. And one thing that you don't get to do is to say that poll ads are cheap, and oh, by the way, Mauer's contract is awful.
Yep, it's amazing how the same people say both things.
You don't get to do that. And so, even more, I think obviously they want to keep their jobs and all that. But I really think, after having talked to them now for as often as deep a discussions as I've had with them, I really believe that they're thinking more along the lines of, what are we going to do to our club 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now? Mm-hmm. Because if you sign some of these guys and it doesn't work, then high-priced guys that you've got are going to be jettisoned